Founders Live Conversations, where we capture and tell unique and inspiring stories of entrepreneurship from all over the world. I'm really excited today to have one of our finalists from Founders Livefest. We have Mafuku from Rare, Zimbabwe. And I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm excited to
Doing
be here as well.
Yeah, doing well. This is great. And you are a Founders Live Fest, the primetime finalist. You won the Founders Live Primetime Africa event. So excited here to just, talk to you a little bit more, capture your story, and just have,
Yeah.
you can share your story with people. So first of all, how are you doing? You're kind of in the dark there, so had a little bit of a power outage,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're still here though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm doing all right. Really, this is the norm, so it doesn't really change. I'm okay. Still
Oh,
very very excited for this founders live. Very
good.
very excited. Yeah.
Well, we are too. We are too, and we want to hear a little bit more about your story. And that really brings us to really our first little question here is share with us a bit of your background and your founder's journey. You have a unique story around Mutombo specialty teas and how you started it. So let's just hear a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Epifania Mafuku. Most people call me Epi. I'm 20 years old and I started Mutombo specialty tea straight out of high school, mostly because of the COVID. COVID stopped like my path towards going to university where I would have been studying behavioral economics, so economics mixed with psychology. So I started Mutombo to fill up time and really just share one thing that I really love, which is tea. And along with my mom, who loves making blends of teas, just mixing up flavors and stuff. So we started it together, and here we are now. Yeah.
Here we are now, and I think it's amazing, your response from the pandemic and realizing that you had a talent, and that's one of the kind of little aspects that I would like to pull out is how did you discover that you had this talent to to manufacture and create these unique teas? Like, just was there like a point where you just like, oh my gosh, like, and people like wanted more, they love them, or what? How did you discover this talent? Because a lot of people have talent, sometimes they really haven't discovered it yet.
Hmm. Well, we've always made, so our first blend, the one that we started with into the market, we've always made it. I think I've had it since I was a child. It's been a very, very long time having that blend of hibiscus tea that we do make. So we always used to share it with family and friends. And then until one point, a friend of my mom said, you should really, really go to market with it because a lot of people will love it. We love it. So a lot of people are bound to love it. And that's what happened. It was a great success. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. um what were those first few steps? Because when you have family members saying, hey, you should go to market with this, you should create a business, there's a big difference between people telling you to do that and actually doing it. So what was that like first couple steps
Hmm.
that you took to take it into selling it and into a business? And I know you've mentioned like the markets and going and actually taking these to the market and put sell them and have people purchase them. But what was those first couple steps that you took to get this from a project to actually a business?
Sorry, please repeat your question. You kept breaking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So like, what steps did you take to take it from a project to a business?
Yeah. Well, we So when we started, we sort of got our packaging from like small shops that just had like sets. I think our first packaging was like a plastic, like a weak plastic bottle, but it was a good one enough for like how we started. Then the loose tea leaf packaging was kind of not the best, but we started that way. Then we started developing towards a business as we got in touch with other people who did the same thing we did. So we got in touch with people who do kombucha and water kifa, and they recommended us to different bottle people. So that's when we started planning, like, oh, you need to make a business plan, um and what our growth model would be, how we would go forward. So as soon as we started meeting with those people and started discussing with people who actually ran businesses, that's where we got like the help and like the ideas to then create our project into a business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very good, very good. And as you move forward, what would you say your larger vision of the company is? You've started with these teas, and you started with some family members and all that. What would you say your vision is going forward? What would you like the company to become as you grow?
I would like to say like Kericho, the Kenyan tea company. They started off small as well. Their story is that they started off small, very quiet in the market until now they're worldwide. They've taken over other tea businesses within Kenya. So I would want to be just like Kericho in terms of like I'm starting off small, I'm very quiet. Most people might not know about me, but some people do. And then like in the future, I'd just love to be that one tea brand that makes special blends from all around the world, different types of teas from all around the world, and just grow bigger.
Mm. Yes, I love that vision, and it can happen. I think that it's really just
Yeah.
about those baby steps, and those take those first steps. So one a question that would follow that would be, what would you say, like, the maybe the two main things to have that vision come together? What would you say you need, or what would be the things that obviously in the next couple of years that you would be looking for to really get to that level that you'd want to be at?
Mhm. I think I would need to secure my supply chain, have constant supply, and oh, is it working? Yeah, and help in pushing exports. I think I'll need a lot of funding towards um, making exports happen. Yeah, but definitely supply chain, like to strengthen my supply chain. That's like number one.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And speaking of supply chain, what has been the experience thus far? Or you created this during the pandemic, but there's clearly been some issues, especially with supply chain. So what have you noticed, or how have you been able to still grow and really build the company in the way that you've needed to, even with challenges? What challenges have you seen specifically with things like supply chain issues?
Hmm. For me, mainly, supply chain has been in terms of with COVID. No, my supply chain hasn't been disrupted mostly because of COVID. In my country, it's mostly because of the inflation. That's what's really
Yeah.
affected my supply chain. So I could make a specific amount of money at a market, but it won't be enough to buy me the amount of product needed to then grow the business. So that was one challenge I did face because I couldn't at one point, I think this was mid June, July, the business couldn't support itself. So I did really get a lot of help from family members, a lot of funding from family members and friends. That was what really affected. So COVID didn't really affect us in the sense that most of our supply, I mean, most of our raw materials are local. So and most of them are within Harare, so it didn't really affect us when they did the lockdowns of uh what do you call it? Cross, what's the word? From city to city.
Yeah,
When they yeah, that didn't really stop us. Yeah.
got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good that, obviously, if you want to talk about, localization and sustainability, you have, a lot of local ingredients and local, the stuff that you created the tea with in terms of ingredients. So it's good that you are keeping that local, and I think that
Hmm.
that's amazing. Let's shift a little bit to your experience pitching, and what advice would you give other entrepreneurs that are in your position or thinking about pitching at Founders Live? You've obviously now you've won a couple events and you've delivered a great pitch. So what advice would you give to others thinking about pitching at Founders Live?
Well, number one, I would tell them to watch a lot of Shark Tank. I honestly believe that really helped me in terms of finding out questions that investors would need you to know. Number two would be know your numbers. You need to know each and every single thing about your business from front to back. Doesn't matter what you're asked, you have to be ready to answer immediately and do a lot of research in terms of your market and what your business would bring to the table within that market. Yeah, what you're doing differently. I think that has to be your main point. What are you doing differently from a company that's doing the exact same thing? Yeah.
Those are very, very great pieces of advice. And I'll just add a little context to, some of the things you said, which, watching Shark Tank and, maybe even, attending and watching other Founders Live events. What happens is
Mm-hmm.
your ability to kind of observe and understand, oh, that's how you tell a story. That's how
Mm-hmm.
you project your voice, like watching people that are confident in their speaking, and that goes a
Yes.
long way. So I like how you said that. And then secondly, absolutely know your numbers, know the metrics and the things that you need to put into your pitch to make
Yeah.
sense. I think a lot of people don't understand that, or they don't fully acknowledge that when we are pitching, and so when you're on stage or you're on camera and the viewer is watching, it's going so fast that they're only going to grab a hold of a few things, right?
Few things. Yeah.
So when you're watching like Shark Tank, when you hear someone talk, you're like, oh, you hear numbers and you hear years or months or days, and all of a sudden you're like, number, days, boom, oh, they must be like doing really great things. So
Yeah.
that's what we need to do when we pitch too, right? Is to really craft that pitch with brevity, short, be really short
Yeah.
information and getting those numbers in. So I think that's great. What would you? This is more just general advice now. As you've gotten started and you're now, not only are you having success from your teas and selling in Harare and other parts of Zimbabwe, but then you now have really started to see success with Founders Live. So what advice would you just tell maybe yourself 2 years ago? So a younger, earlier entrepreneur, what sort of advice would you tell them, given that you've now experienced just some of this?
Yeah. My advice would be to just start, no matter what your idea is. If it's selling jewelry, makeup, despite there being 20 people in the market who are doing the same thing, the main thing is to start, because you never know if you're going to succeed if you don't try. So just start. That's like the number one thing I would tell any person who would come to me to ask for a startup advice. Just start.
Just start. I love it. I love it. I fully agree. And, I think Hey, if even just starting sounds scary, that this is why Founders Live is here, and this is why,
Exactly.
as we gather people together, we help you all see, oh wow, like there's things to help me get started. There's people that are just a little farther than me that are now pitching in on stage. And so we appreciate that. And I think that advice, everyone listen to Epi here, just get started. So, this has been such a great conversation, Epi, and I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for your success that you're seeing, as well as you are the representative from Africa that is pitching at Founders Livefest 2021.
Yeah.
It's on December 1st. Depending on where you are in the world, that might be December 2nd. So just everyone pay
Mhm.
attention to that. But
Yeah.
I'll give you the last words here. Leave us with some words on what do you want to tell people about your excitement of Live Fest on December 1st?
Well, I think first of all for Live Fest, I'm kind of nervous because I will be carrying Africa sort of in a way. So like I'm holding the torch for Africa. So that's a lot of weight to hold on my shoulders, but I'm still very 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 excited for the experience, and I hope it goes well. Yeah.
Well, you will do great. You'll do great. So very very excited.
Thank you.
Well, this has been the Founders Live Conversations. We're so excited to have Epi here with us, and for all of you, again, please join us at the December 1st Founders Live Fest, and you'll receive more information. You can find that at livefest.founderslive.com and get your free ticket today. Just jump in there and make sure you get that. So thank you all so much, and we will see you soon.